Hello, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Women Winning Wednesdays. I am attorney Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, and I am the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, where our mission is to empower women through estate planning. Through our guests here on Women Winning Wednesdays and educational content, my hope is to provide you with glimpses of what an empowered woman is and the tools that she needs to win. As always, a bit of housekeeping. We're streaming live on StreamYard, so be sure to give StreamYard permission for us to view your comments. I want you to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and say hi. Tell me where you're listening from. And if you catch this on the replay, be sure and include a hashtag replay in the comments. Here we go. So last month was all about estate planning awareness. You got the videos, free downloads, posts on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all with the hope that you'd have an aha moment and get your estate plan done. Now, if you didn't, and you're still part of the over 60% of Americans without a will, you might be feeling like this. I'll show you in just a second. This lady right here. Yeah, this, my friends, is what estate planning fatigue looks like. And we don't want you to be in that situation. So that is the reason for today's episode. We are going to talk about how to avoid estate planning fatigue. Again, how to avoid estate planning fatigue. Now, first, a word about what estate planning fatigue is and what it looks like. According to a CNBC.com survey, over 1/3 of high net worth families have failed to take just even the basic steps to provide for their loved ones when they die and to ensure that their final wishes are respected. And specifically, these surveys showed that 30% of people with over $1 million or more in assets had not created an estate plan. Now, you might think that $1 million in assets is huge. Well, what I'll say to that is everything is relative. In this area, specifically the Maryland, DC area, we have a high cost of living. And for most people, their home is their most valuable asset. Now, in addition to your home, if you have a second home or an investment property, retirement plans, and other investments, it won't take you very long to hit that $1 million mark, or at least come pretty close to it. Now, and according to Washingtonian, in July of 2021, of this year, the median home price for the entire DC metro area was $550,000. And in the city of DC, the median price in July of 2021 was over $652,000. So my point in mentioning this is to give you some perspective when you hear that an individual or family has $1 million in assets. It's not like they're sitting on piles of cash, but a lot of it, may be the value of their home. All right. So although some people would like to limit estate planning fatigue to those in income brackets of $1 million or more, I believe that estate planning fatigue can affect all of us. I would argue that one of the reasons that more than 60% of Americans do not have estate plans is in part due to estate planning fatigue. So what do I mean? Estate planning, requires many decisions. And if they're tackled all at once, that can result in decision fatigue. That's when the brain basically shuts down because there are too many decisions to make in a short period of time. And this leaves us feeling, overwhelmed. And we may rush decisions or take, reckless or careless shortcuts. So now let's look at what estate planning fatigue looks like. I already showed you a pictorial illustration, but what's an example, or what are examples of where estate planning fatigue can set in? I'll give you one. Let's say you had an estate plan while you were married. You've just gone through a heated divorce. Now everything has changed, and your old estate plan is no longer valid. You know the beneficiaries need to change. You know your will needs to change. Your spouse is no longer your spouse. So everything you were leaving to the former spouse in your old will has to change. You tell yourself that you'll get around to it soon. It's been over 6 months since the divorce, and you still have not updated your plan. And you become irritated when someone asks you if you've updated your plan. Does this sound like anybody that's listening right now? Does this resonate with anybody right now? I'm going to give you another example. Say you never had a plan. You've attended seminars on estate planning. You collected the brochures, and you may have even started the process of getting organized, writing lists of what you own and who you want to be involved in your estate plan. But you ran into a roadblock. You started feeling guilty about the fact that you wanted to exclude a particular family member from your plan just because that person's just not a good fit, or because of your relations with that person. Or maybe the issue is that you want to leave different amounts to different people, and you don't have the confidence to stick to your decisions. You start catastrophizing how your family is going to react to what you want and what you don't want in your estate plan. Your mind starts spiraling out of control. You then freeze, stop the process, and you just give up in frustration. Okay, that's the second example of what or how estate planning fatigue can manifest itself. Now, did either of these two scenarios feel familiar to you, to anybody who's listening? I'm curious. Now, at this point, I think it's important to identify the parallels between estate planning fatigue and mental fatigue in general. WebMD identifies, several signs that you are experiencing, mental fatigue. And 7 of them, and it's a pretty long list, but 7 of them include that you're angry or impatient. You can't get work done. You zone out. You don't sleep well. You're depressed. You worry a lot. And the last one is that you make more mistakes. Is this resonating with anybody? I think it does. Now, if you feel mentally exhausted, I think that the mental health professionals I've had on the show would agree that you should at least get in touch with a healthcare provider who can arrange a treatment plan to alleviate any symptoms that you are experiencing. Now, have you been feeling overwhelmed by the process of getting an estate plan done? Are you awake at 3 a.m., worried that the documents that you may have found online really won't protect your family? Or are you almost at the point of giving up because you've decided that it's just all too hard to understand? Before you do, I want you to see what giving up on yourself and your family looks like. Say if you die without a will or trust, your estate assets are distributed according to what's known as intestate succession. And those of you who follow me on Women Winning Wednesdays are familiar with that term because I've mentioned it before. So as a result, the who gets what follows strict guidelines set by your particular state with no regard to the emotional relationships between you, your spouse, your children, and members of your extended family. Here's another consequence. Even close families sometimes disagree over who should receive what after a family member dies. Now, these arguments can be about items that have, monetary value, as well as items that have little or no cash value, but they have significant sentimental value for a particular family member, such as a set of earrings, for example, or a pearl necklace. Now, without an estate plan that details the distribution of your assets, family fights can quickly get ugly and may even need to be resolved in court. And many families have been just decimated, torn apart by disputes like these, which could have been avoided entirely by proper planning. Another reason that you need an estate plan is to make sure that a person that you choose has the authority to make medical and financial decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated. Without your own plan, someone is going to have to petition the court to gain control of your assets and medical care. This could very well be a person that you would have never wanted to make important decisions for you. So what happens? You may not receive the level of care that you would have wanted. Or on the flip side, you might be subjected to medical procedures you would not have wanted to keep you alive in an end of life situation. And last consequence of not having a plan and just giving up is that if your children, grandchildren, or other heirs, if they're not, old enough, that they're not mature enough to handle an inheritance on their own, an estate plan allows you to protect their inheritances until they're ready to manage them. So without a plan, those heirs will inherit your assets in a lump sum. And the assets are actually vulnerable to threats from creditors, divorce, predators, people looking to exploit, if it's to a child, your son or daughter, for their own personal gain and other horrendous reasons. Now, if a loved one suffers from, say, a drug or an alcohol addiction, a lump sum inheritance like that can even worsen their condition. With a proper plan, however, you can ensure that your beneficiaries are not going to receive the inheritance until they are ready to do so. So so far we've talked about what estate planning fatigue is, how it manifests itself. Now I want to talk to you on just 4 tips on how to avoid estate planning fatigue, which is the topic of the show. So number 1 is to educate yourself on estate planning. Now, there are free resources that will help you learn, the basic terminology used and like documents that are commonly used in estate plans. You can visit my YouTube channel at Elsa W. Smith Law, for videos on estate planning topics. But you can find them, just Google, and you can see different educational tools just about anywhere. If you go to my website, elsawsmithlaw.com, you'll see a tab for resources, and there are a few free resources available to you, and you can download those right away. You can also attend webinars that when they become available, and for heaven's sakes, ask questions. There is no such thing as a silly question. And chances are there's at least one other person in the room or in the webinar who has the exact same question. I've seen it time and time again with all the webinars that I've done. The second tip on how to avoid estate planning fatigue is to get an accountability partner. Now, if you have an accountability partner, you usually get more personalized, with your goals, because the other person is focused on your success. And, you've got to surround yourself with the right people, with good company. Other people can provide you with inspiration, knowledge, perspective, wisdom, and feedback to help keep you on the road to success. That's why, an accountability partner can like dramatically increase your chances of success. Now, in the case of estate planning, it would help if both you and your accountability partner are seeking to or up to create or update your respective estate plans. The third tip on how to avoid estate planning fatigue is to speak to a professional. There is no need for you to go it alone. Would you do your own root canal? I think not. You'd go to someone, who can answer all of the questions you have, and based on their experience, recommend a course of action that is suited to meet your specific needs. And the right estate planning professional is going to create a safe space for you to air out whatever it is that you want to say in private, in confidence, without the fear of being judged. The last tip of the 4 tips on how to avoid estate planning fatigue is to give yourself a deadline to get it done. Now, why is setting a deadline important? You prioritize, okay? Making deadlines is usually an effective way to help you complete tasks according to their importance, right? So given that, time is limited and there are multiple ways in which you can spend it, deciding on what is most important for you to do and, just blocking that time out, deciding what is most important for you is going to help you make better use of your time. And the other thing is you're motivated to achieve your goal. Having a clearly set date for completing a task, in this case, getting your estate plan done, can motivate you to get it done on time. If no deadline is set, there may not be an incentive for you to complete the task on time, which usually means that it's going to take longer than it should. You just keep pushing it back. A deadline can push you to finish on time with whatever deadline you set for yourself. It may even require you to spend time on less important activities, which is a good thing because the estate plan is a pretty important task. Now, again, we've talked about what estate planning fatigue looks like, examples of how it may manifest, and now we've talked about 4 tips to avoid estate planning fatigue. I created a guide that's going to help you fight estate planning fatigue. It's called the Jumpstart Estate Planning Guide. I want you to get the guide. It's free. And more importantly, I want you to use it and share it. I've just posted the link to get the guide on the screen. Like I said, it's free. I talked about the Jumpstart Guide in a prior Women Winning Wednesdays episode. Remember, this video is going to be available for replay on Facebook and YouTube. And like I said, make sure to share it. The replays are on YouTube at Elsa W. Smith Law. And make sure and subscribe while you're there too. I want you to really think about what I've talked to you about today, about estate planning fatigue. It's real. We all get bogged down, stressed out with everything that we are responsible for. It's work, maintaining a family, running a household, etc., etc. Estate planning cannot be put on the back burner. You may think that you're going to live forever, but you're not. And tomorrow is not promised to any of us. I know you've heard that over and over again, but it's true. And I don't want you to end 2021 without getting your estate plan done, because it is so important. Don't be afraid to talk with someone. Get the guide, get some resources. And if you need any assistance whatsoever, we're here. You can give our office a call. You've been seeing it scroll on the bottom of the screen there, 410-995-7719. You can also reach out to us through our website. But whatever you do, I want you to commit to taking action and not just throwing your hands up and giving up, because the stakes are high, and your family, your life, not only in the hereafter, for who are left behind, but your life right now, your quality of life right now is too important for you to just throw up your hands and give up. So I want to thank you all for joining me on this episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. Be sure to join me next week at 1:30 Eastern. I am Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, empowering women through estate planning. Take care, and I'll see you next week.